Okay, welcome back to the show and go. Little round 7 wrap. Got the boss in the house. Fanner jumper on, looking like a snack. Let's rip straight into a bit of footy chat, boss. Obviously, massive storylines coming out of the weekend, but we're going to start with the old boy Benji.
Yeah.
Obviously, off the back of probably the best game of the round, Koro put in an absolute clinic.
Matua Benji.
What do you make of Benji's performance, and just how good was it to see the old boy?
I think it's just so important to have a really good side around you. You looked at Benji over the past couple of years in that Tigers system. You look at someone like Luke Brooks in that Tigers system. Man, when you got quality players around you, and we've talked about this in the past, where you don't leave quality teams for money, in my opinion, because you're going to make it up over time. But just to see Benji play that, remind me of being like a 16-year-old kid, and that's probably when I was at my most impressionable when it comes to football players, and this sort of 05 run all the way up to, I reckon, 11, 12.
Yeah.
He was a beautiful player to watch.
Golden boot in that period, I think.
Yeah,
10?
he got one. Yeah, maybe 11.
Yeah,
I think he got 11.
Yeah.
So they were meant to go to the grand final that year, but Warriors ended up
yes, sir.
getting them at Leica. So yeah, it was cool.
Shout out Chris Nanunu.
Yeah, it's a great team. But yeah, it was just great to see Benji sort of like, he's almost lost to the game, and for him to put in a performance like that, man, it was fucking elite. I enjoyed it.
My most, like, the biggest takeaway, like, at 36, like, he's, like, everyone always says, like, that class is, like, sort of permanent, yeah? Like, Benji, to me, he's always going to be able to put guys in holes and lay it on. He's a fucking genius, but he looks so physically fit. He looks fast. He looks strong. Like, the fact that Wayne's comfortable playing him in the middle, playing him, like, he named him at centre. He was never going to play centre, but he looks like not in the best shape of his career, because obviously it's not 05 Benji ganking guys and snapping ankles, but he's gone into an amazing system. Like you said, he looks physically fit, fast and strong, and you're seeing the benefits of it, man.
Man, he's adapted. So like all the great players do. You look at LeBron, who was a physical athlete. They've been in the league the same amount of time. So he adapted his game.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy. So everyone gives LeBron like a lot of credit for his longevity. He's been doing it for the same amount of time. So, yeah, it's like the game, as you get older, the game starts to move, like it's moving quicker, but you can see things a lot clearer. And we always see Benji, and we always hold him in high regard because the way he used to bounce and step, and it was crazy seeing that. But he's adapted his game, and he's still one of the better halves out there as well.
Game manager as well.
Yeah, got a great boot. And I think what he sits behind the line is going to be super important. Got a pretty experienced spine. I think all the boys are all over 30 now, and they've all done some pretty good things. So just another bit of leadership to add to the Rabbitohs, and it was good to see.
Off the back of, obviously this happens every time someone in Benji's status has a game like that, they start to throw the immortal chat around again. Where do you think sort of Benji fits into that puzzle? Like he's a surefire Hall of Famer.
Yep.
And he's like, in my opinion, he's the best New Zealand rugby league player ever.
Agree.
I put him in that Stacey Jones, Simon Mannering, Mark Graham sort of echelon. For me, he's the best. But where do you see him?
He's got a comp over the boys too, you know what I mean? Like everyone will hold Stacey Jones as the highest, but he's got a comp, he's got a World Cup. So yeah, I don't know, man. When I think of immortals, I reckon there should be a rule there's only like one per decade.
Yeah, that'd be sick.
That's when you know you're actually the guy, you know what I mean? Like Brad Fittler's not even in there.
Yeah.
Like that's probably someone you could compare it to.
That's where like the immortal chat it depends on how you want to do it. If you want to make it a little bit more open and have 2 or 3 immortals a year, he's definitely in that conversation. If you want to keep it like old boys clubs, super exclusive, like we're never going to have more than X amount or whatever.
I reckon that's the way it should be.
Yeah.
Like,
and then you've still got the Hall of Fame. Hall of Fame's still very special, and like I'm still thinking about Kiwi players like Ruben Wiki and Stace 2 years ago got inducted, and that was quite a big deal back home. So like when I start to think about Benji in the immortal chat, I reckon he's sitting somewhere ahead of like Cooper Cronk, something like that, and I think he sits just behind sort of your Lockyers and
I don't think he's ahead of Cooper Cronk. Cooper Cronk's got 5 comps.
You don't think he's ahead of him just because of the comps?
Yeah.
I'll see my thing in my head is peaks. I think Benji's peak was higher than all those guys I just listed. Unfortunately, like when you compare him to someone like Thurston, for example, Benji's had lulls and dips in form where I don't really remember Thurston doing that. So
when did Cooper Cronk have a bad game?
Yeah. Good point.
Yeah. So I like success matters and obviously rings matter, but then in saying that, like I wouldn't have like
he's the most influential player.
I wouldn't have Cronk, but he's influential on culture as well. So you look at someone like Allen Iverson, he didn't win competition, but he like people credit him for influencing culture. So like 10 years, 20 years from now, when we look back and you show Cameron Smith highlights and you show Benji Marshall highlights to the culture, Benji's going to be probably a lot more relevant. But in terms of like immortality, man, like Lockyer, you got Thurston, you've got Cronk, you've got Slater. Like imagine you can only pick 2 of those out of the 5. I don't know. It's a tough conversation to have, and to sort of sneak Benji in there in terms of being a Kiwi and being a small town Kiwi that made it and changed the game, and he's done everything for the culture. But that immortality chat's like, it's a tough one.
Yeah, I thought it was a bridge too far, but it's always interesting to talk about when he's that good, and it's someone like Benji, he's always going to sniff around.
Oh, my heart's going fucking throw him in yesterday. But then you look at the players in and around him at his same time.
Yeah,
man, it's going to be a tough conversation, especially when you got C. Smith just sort of floating about there as well. For 20 years, never really played a bad game. Won comms, won Origin, World Cups, and everything. In terms of New Zealand, man, he'll always be king in my eyes.
Yeah, 100. Transitioning over to his halves part, and obviously there's more chat every day. There seems to be a new chat that your boy Ren Diggity's linked to. I'm kind of not over the chat, but.
They got to put it into it pretty soon, because they're a genuine chance of winning a competition. You don't want stuff like this dragging out. And either way, whatever way it does go, it looks like it's going to be away from Rabbitohs. That's the feel I get. Is that how you feel?
Yeah, I think it's hard, obviously coming from the journo world. When there's smoke, there's fire, but sometimes there is just a fuckload of smoke. That happens as well. But now we've got Brisbane, Tigers, Sharks, been tossed up, Para, which I think would be fucking all time. I know Lukey would be smirking over there with thinking about his eels getting them. And that's no disrespect to a guy like Mitchell Moses, who I love watching play at the moment. But I agree with you, man. Like at this point in the year, put a line in the sand, either say, unfortunately, he's not part of our plans going forward, but we're going to ride with him this year. This is our captain, whatever. Or pay the man. Yeah. Make your mind up.
I reckon he leaves. I reckon he's looking for a little bit more.
Where do you want to see him?
That parapet would be nice. Like, wouldn't have to move house. I'd stay away from Tigers and Broncos. I don't think he wants to head to a rebuild, no matter how much money.
Bulldogs would be the same thing.
Bulldogs, same thing. I reckon Para's probably the only ready to win now style team.
Yeah. What about the fact that despite all of this going on,
is Mitch Moses still signed? How long is he signed there for? Is he coming off soon?
You probably know, Luke. Yeah, I think he's. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's off contract this year as well.
Yeah,
there's
he must be asking for a wicket.
Yeah, we were talking about it the other day. Like Corey, Moiser, Sean. There's some big halfbacks all coming off contract this year, so I'm sure there's going to be a fair bit of movement in the market.
It's going to be cool because I like movement. Yeah, so you look at NBA and NFL, I love when players start to move around and
prefer the off season.
yeah. So there's enough drama in league, but I do like this sort of rotation style stuff. But yeah, I don't know, man.
It'd be cool.
Ideally, you'd love Ren to stay at Rabbitohs.
That's where I was going. To me, and maybe it's just because that's how I've always watched him play, and that's where I've known him. He to me is South Sydney. That's where he should be. But I'm tending to lean more towards you as well. It seems like he's going to go.
That's true, but then when I see Cronk, I see him as the Roosters as well. I don't see him just as Melbourne.
Benji now looks normal in a Rabbitohs jumper.
Yeah, it looked weird. It looked weird when we were doing Photoshop on him, but I don't know. Yeah, I don't like. I think we just got to adapt to people change clubs now, and Ren's so South Sydney, it's not even fucking funny. But man, he might look good in blue and gold. Yeah,
and Mitch, if we're talking about that sort of merry-go-round, Mitch and Moses going to the Bulldog system with a young Matt Burton, that could be cool as well. So it could all work if they rotate that way.
Is that what it's looking like?
That's what I was reading today. It was like a little 3-team flip.
Yeah,
where you get Matt Burton obviously to the Dogs, you get Reynolds would jump over, and then Mitchell Moses would fall into the Bulldog system, or Benji. So who knows what they're going to do there, but sort it out either way.
Looking forward to it anyway, whatever happens. It's exciting.
Happens. Garrett Grouse, if they win a comp as well in his last year. Slightly bigger player, David Fifita, slightly bigger than Reynolds. This seems like we're only talking about this one game, but it was such a good game. I don't know. I was trying to think of it before we jumped on air. T-Rex for a hot minute, Dave Taylor. I'm trying to think of freaks that just look bigger, stronger and faster than guys.
Like Tom Malolo to an extent, but he's always sort of laid the platform where Dave Fifita's that sort of next level up where he scores tries. So he's like a genuine game breaker. He's got genuine X factor.
I'm pretty sure he's only behind Brett Morris now in try scorer. I'm pretty sure he's ahead of Pappy, which is hilarious. 6 tries in 3 weeks.
Thank fuck I don't have to play against him.
What are you doing? So you're an opposing half. Is there... I'm sure there's the smart sides are coming up with game plans on how to get him, but...
Man, what you do, you go high. You just go high and you just hope for help quickly.
Yeah.
You got to cover the ball up anyway, but he's got that high bump anyway, so he usually gets rid of that guy anyway. And he's the scary thing about him is he's got such great leg speed that he can bump you, stop, and then take off pretty quick. Where a lot of people, once they use their bump, it takes them a while to get going. Where he doesn't really have that. He can pass, he can offload, pre-line, post-line. Yeah, he's scary, man. He's besides maybe Kiko is probably as influential.
Yeah, ball in
as a back rower.
Yeah.
But besides them two, man, is you're kind of moving away from that traditional, like your boy Coiner, fucking tough,
Punch
takes all the tough carries, punch a hole for you, can pass if he needs to, man. You look at someone like Kiko, he can fucking kick, pass early, offload.
We're getting back to those early ball to your big back roller days.
It's cool. It's cool. Like Lauatiti, remember those sort of days, man? You couldn't stop him. So they say if you want to look to the future, look to the past. And that early 2000s to maybe 2007, there's a golden period of rugby league in terms of attacking football. It was very two-passy, wasn't so much block shape at the back. As well. Yeah, so the half played on the ball, 5/8s played out wide. So it's exciting. So there's a lot of good halves. You look at Jerome Luai, like the way that Nathan and Jerome play, it's very like two-passy more than out the back block and very old school. So we went for a phase, and especially when I was coming through, Melbourne was so successful that everyone tried to copy Melbourne, and then we moved into that left half, right half, you stay on your side, I stay on my side type thing. But it's starting to switch back because there's teams that are getting results, and you're getting players that aren't overcoached. I know we're going to touch on Sam Walker a little bit later, but you look at someone like Jerome Luai, like he hasn't been overcoached. Yeah, he's been taught his basics, and then off the back of structure, he can play football that's natural to him, and it works. And it's hard to defend.
Is it funny that it's transitioning back to that just as Melbourne start to transition?
But they'll transition to it too. So they built their structure off the back of their personnel. So you had a halfback that wasn't as naturally talented as a lot of people in Cooper Cronk, and they had to build a system in and around him. Where you had someone like Slater who'd wasn't scared to throw a pass, but then, man, you got some fucking genuine footballers in Melbourne, and that shows how good Craig Bellamy is as a coach. Yes. He's had 20 years of success doing one way, and as soon as his best player leaves, he goes, oh, fuck, we'll just start playing this way now. Yeah.
How good is it as well? Like, we'll move off David Fifita in a second, but like I was thinking, when the Gold Coast sort of first came in the comp, I love the Titans, man. I love the fact that...
Why?
I just love the whole Scotty Prince, Matt Rogers, that little era. But since then, it's like they've struggled. They keep missing on the big name, big money recruits, but I'm pretty sure they got one in David Fifita. It looks like they've finally hit. Tino as well.
Yeah.
They were. They were always a good side in those early years. They were competitive, and then they just kept missing on the big recruits. And every time someone big came off contract, it was always the Titans were in the hunt for them. They could never land them, but they got two boys now.
But the managers are just using them off to get some bigger money for the boys, eh? Yeah. But so credit to Justin Holbrook. Looks like he's really flipped that culture around. And when you don't have like super crazy, like I know Ash Taylor's on big money, but they're not like super fancy halves. You kind of need to have a point of attack and difference in somewhere else. So you look at someone like Fogarty, he's very like basic and plays square and he's a bit of athletic, but he's not like a Sean Johnson or a Nathan Cleary where they can strip you with a few different looks. Yeah, it helps having that big back row where you can just go here and then just sort of push up and get off the back of it. So there's not always one way to win, but they're finding ways to get themselves in games, and they'll win a few as well.
Yeah, agreed. Shout out Corey Thompson as well. He's having season of doom, bro. Look on to where we go now. Oh, the Panthers. They're going to be a topic every time we do this show until they lose a game. We were speaking this morning.
They'll be a topic when they lose too.
Exactly. First of all, obviously they stay undefeated. They got Manly, which is going to be a good one this Saturday.
Yeah, that's going to be.
So I'm not saying they're going to lose it, but after what Tommy's been doing in the last couple of weeks, it's going to be a good game, isn't it?
Yeah, they're going to be Manly are in form, man. We touched on Tommy last week. He's crazy. He is crazy. Yeah, and like we said, he just makes everyone better. And then once you make those players around you a little bit better, and then you add wins on top of that, we've just had one good win. Now we've had two good wins. The boys are rocking out Monday into video. It's going to be cruisy. Everyone's got a bit more confidence about him. Like Jason Saab looks like a completely different player. Yeah. Harper, is it Harper the centre?
Yeah, Morgan Harper.
Yeah.
Richie. Yeah.
Like an Uncle Bully. Yeah. Like they just all look like better players, and that's what confidence does, and that's what winning does, and that's what superstar players do. They make their players in and around them better, and Tommy does that, and now is their big challenge, and they'll be up for it. Yeah. They got enough there. They got turbos.
Spine.
Spine. Fozzie's got over for media as well. Yeah. It's interesting to see like when he went over and a whole team was in.
You could tell they were waiting for that, eh?
Yeah, that's when you know players really fuck with someone if they celebrate tries with them.
Jerome Luai moving himself into that Origin discussion.
I put him in.
Yeah, I was about to say, we spoke on Thursday. You had him straight in, huh?
Yeah. And like, to be honest, individually, if you put, I think still Jack Whiten's the best 5'8", complete. Yep. I think Cody Walker's like a B-stick behind him. Obviously, Kerry's out at the moment as well.
B-stick is still the best analogy.
Yeah. So, in saying that, I'd rather have Nathan Cleary with Cody Walker and not Jack Whiten, because I think Cody Walker's more like Jerome Luai than Jack Whiten, but then Jerome Luai is more like Jerome Luai than Cody Walker's like Jerome Luai. Does it make sense?
Yeah,
So
almost.
yeah, so I think Jerome Luai makes Nathan Cleary a better player. They trust each other. They played so much football together. They've had an incredible 18 months. They've lost 2 or 3 games. They played in big games now. Man, I put Jerome Luai in, and the reason why is because then you've got your halves for the next 6 years, 5-6 years. Everyone always says 10 years. Like,
yeah, I mean, Luke Keary's would be as well if he wasn't hurt. You know what I mean? Luke Keary's another one you throw in that sort of merry-go-round. Look, for me, Jerome Luai, I think he has to be in the squad. I tend to lean more towards the 14 jumper. I wouldn't have Pappy there in that 14 jumper. But for me, I'm just a Cody Walker guy. Yeah. That's my thing. Like, I don't think he can make a wrong decision. Yeah. I just think Jerome, he can play hooker. You can throw him in the middle and he can run amok. So can Pappy. I'm not saying he's better than Pappy or you can't
it's a good problem.
You can't make a wrong call. If I was, and we're going to release Scope's Origin Sides of Doom this morning as well on the mag, but for me, I'm just a Cody Walker guy. I think he's the best 6 right now in terms of form. I think Jack Whiten's sort of, obviously he's Canberra struggling, and I don't think he gets in the centres just because you got Latrell and Turbo fit now. Yep. So unfortunately, I think Jack Whiten will miss out, which is crazy to say because he's one of my favourite players.
I reckon he'd go centre.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, you could probably pick your side 3 different ways, but it's good to see Jerome Luai. But just lastly, give that boy some Dally M points as well.
Who, Jerome?
Jerome. 1 point for that Thursday clinic is. I don't know what's going on. That was Joey who picked that as well, I saw. So he had Dylan Edwards 3 points, Fisher Harris 2 points, Jerome 1. So Jerome now has as many Dally M points this year as Hudson Young, Paul Vaughan, and Gutho.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been playing better than 4 Dally M points. Anyway, that's just my little spiel on Jerome Luai. Let's jump across to the Warriors because I don't.
But don't you think like longevity is important for Origin? Like, you know who your half's going to be for the next. Like, how old are they? 22, 23?
But that's what I'm saying. I think
he's going to get there.
I think Cleary and Carey is your combo for the next X amount of years. That's what I think.
Yeah, but I don't feel like that combination worked as well.
It didn't.
Because Carey plays like a really wide 4. He plays on the up as well, but yeah, I don't know. I go Cleary Luai.
Cleary Luai? I'll go Cleary and Cody, but again.
Can't lose.
Shit problem. Queensland just know exactly who they're going to
pick.
All guns. We're going to jump over to the Warriors then and we'll touch on Tommy and Sam Walker to finish off. But the Warriors blooded your boy Reece Walsh. Yeah. Tough, obviously, day to come into. Melbourne on Anzac Day. The boys got licked, unfortunately, but he looked pretty classy back there.
Yeah, so Normie was talking about him a couple of years ago, and like I think Normie's grown up with his family and they're like super tight. But yeah, I had a beer with Walshy on New Year's. I didn't really know too much about him. A little bit loose on the piss too, which is good. Always a good thing. That. Yeah. But he looked good. Like his touches look classy. I sort of said like so Kevin Locke was sort of small, well balanced, fast, had those like beautiful touches in and around him. I think he sort of got that vibe around him. The Roger thing is weird. Is that weird? Or I get it, but
you know what's cool? You'll like this. So Rog, when I did a bit of a feature on him a couple of years ago, I spoke to Anthony Minicello.
Yeah, because that's what they did, eh?
So 2013, Minicello and Robbo went down and had their morning coffee like they always do pre-season, and they sort of mapped out the year. And he said, and this is when Anthony Minicello was still Anthony Minicello. He said, listen, I'm thinking about doing this idea. You let me know what you think. Rog had scored something like 9 tries in fucking 2 games in 20s, just needed to play. He's like, I'm thinking we play Rog on the right wing. As soon as we get into good ball, you guys swap. And Anthony Minicello, to his credit, humble as fuck, just said 100%, did it, scored a few more meaties as well. But that's what I'd like to see the Warriors maybe do. I don't know if Walsh is a traditional winger. I imagine he'd struggle there, but I just think the Warriors, if it's Rogers last season, you just beat the Dragons last week. Like, you're a legit top 8 side if you're injury free and
especially this year, especially in that they're besides the top 4. Yeah,
they're in that little zone. So I don't think it's the right time to blood Reece Walsh, but I wouldn't mind to see them do the Minicello RTS thing and maybe try that. It seems bizarre to me that you'd take I'm not going to say your only strike weapon, but your biggest strike weapon and park him on a wing. Roger had 100 metres, 4 tackle breaks and a couple of missed tackles. So he's better than that. So I'm not too sure what the plan is, but it was a weird one for me.
I leave Walsh in there. Like, I think his touches were better than most of the other people's touches in the team. Like, he plays a wide 4 really well. He probably kicks better than every Warriors player there is. He's a left footer, which helps everyone. Like, his bombs are actually going up in the air and
asking some questions.
Asking some questions, and he can land it on the spot as well. And like those touches on the wide 4, they're classy. So I don't know where you put. I'd keep him in there because
you mentioned maybe in the 6 jumper.
I'd throw him at. I'd throw one of them at 5. Could Roger play 5'8"?
Probably, mate. Sure, just give him the ball.
Yeah, because I know he was on the wing, and then Mamalo would move wider when I was going on attack, and it kind of wasn't working that well. But Man, I leave Walsh in there because I think he's. But then you look at Cody Nicarima, who's got touches of brilliance in him as well. But
Chanel's back next week as well, I believe.
Yeah, I don't know. I keep Walsh in there because he can kick better than all of them. He's a big left foot kicker, and that's important in today's day game. And man, his touches look like every time he touched it, it looks like something was going to happen. Yeah. He's pressuring that 4-man. He's getting past. He's hitting them short. I really like that Curran. I think he's a.
Yeah, I know he's facing a bit of a ban now, unfortunately, but he is.
Yeah,
he burst on the scene. People sort of didn't know much about him.
Remember Cuthbertson?
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
Like that ball playing back row for Headgear.
He burst on the scene. He had a really good game in the Indigenous All Stars about 2 years ago.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, he was really good, and he was amazing last week against the Dragons as well. Another good performance, but he's facing a bit of a ban for the headshot. I mean, we could speak ad nauseum about all these loading and player bans as well, which is getting a bit crazy. But you're talking about talented players. Let's jump over to Sammy Walker to finish off Anzac Day Clinic.
He just keeps turning up, eh? It's like weird.
No worries.
You look at him and you're like, fuck, he looks like a fucking child.
Yeah.
Where his touches are like, he's so ad lib, and like we talked about not getting over coach. He's in that perfect scenario now where he's got great coaching, he's got great players in and around him. Obviously got the confidence of doom as well, so he's not scared to try shit. Like he'll throw long balls just out of his own half and like just from the Josh Morris and stuff. But just the way he scores tries is just like, all right, I've just seen something in front of me, I'm just going to have a crack at it. You know what I mean? It's not like where you sort of flipped over to the Dragons, you're like, oh, sweet, let's get to this new post and set up a play and
try and score our try here.
Yeah, we'll try and score our try on like the third run from now, but just let me do this 2 over here, and then we'll do a big shape, and hopefully Dufty can do something. Where he's just like, fuck, here's a quick play of the ball, looked up. All right, here's a big forward in front of me, let me just crank him. Yeah. And I don't know, he's like, he doesn't get ragdolled or anything, so
that's weird. That's the weird part about me. Like he must have a deceptively strong carry in him, or at least
must be strong through the core.
Yeah, catches guys off balance. Well, yeah, that's what I was going to say, because he seems to be sort of half pushing through these half tackles where someone his size should not be doing that. But Luke Keary's the same, and it's the same team. And Luke Keary, the last time I was here, we had him in here, and I was just blown away by how small he is. No disrespect to Keary, but like there's nothing to him.
He's got big balls though. He's fucking tough.
Strong as fuck. And you talk about, when you were talking about the origin halves, how important is it to have longevity? Sam Walker and Luke Keary are going to be there for a minute, and they're going to be fucking good when they're both playing together. So Sammy Walker Clinic. And just lastly, we touched on it earlier, but it's worth touching on again. Tommy Trbojevic, after the fortnight of doom, he's taken on the Panthers. But this is what I wanted to ask you. Teddy's still your fullback for the Blues?
Yeah, of course.
What does Tommy have to do to get that fullback?
Nah, so I either play Tommy as winger or centre, but give him the right to roam.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's what they did the last time.
Yeah.
It wasn't last year because he was hurt, but was it the year before? Was it
year before. I remember him and Jakey have always got that little inside play they do off there. So I give him, and because he's a smart footballer, he's not like, he'll know when to be in position and then when he can roam, so he can pick those times really, really well. But it's kind of like when you watch Cheese and Harry Grant on the field at the same time. You just got to get them both on the field, and if they're both in and around the middle, man, it just starts to get even fucking scarier. Imagine running a block shape and then like Tommy's on the inside of Turbo or the other, Turbo's on the inside of Travoy. Oh, fuck, what's his name? Teddy.
Teddy's on the inside of Jake.
Yeah.
Tommy's on the outside.
Oh, I don't know. Fucking
Pappy sweeping out the back.
Yeah. Got 3 fullbacks just swinging out there. They're all in Dalian form. Yeah. So, I don't know. Tommy's amazing.
And then Latrell at centre. Beauty.
Fuck playing Origin. Fuck that. And the best thing about Tommy is like he cares. Like he actually cares about football. He actually cares about competing. He actually cares about winning. It's kind of rare, eh? As much he cares as much as Tommy and Jake care about footy.
Yeah.
Like it looks like someone's died after they lost. You can't even talk to them. But they'll be nice to you, shake your hand, but they're fucking looking for their car keys, got their head on their knees.
Cheers is the same.
It's good.
You always talk about Cheers is exactly the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, so getting the reply in the group chats.
Yeah, fuck Cheers. Cheers will lose a couple games and won't talk to me for like 3 weeks. I don't know. Manly in a good spot, man. He obviously got Fozzie there as well, so I like when Manly do well.
Yeah.
Everyone hates them.
They're one of those teams which, I was about to say, rubs a lot of people the wrong way when they're going well, but I like it.
They're fans. They're
going well. I'm just a Fozzie fan, so as long as Fozzie's playing well, I'm happy, man.
I'm a Hollow Sports fan too. Manly 13 plus.
Yeah. All right, I think that'll wrap it up for the show and go today. Plenty more footy content coming, so stay tuned.
Later.